Before our estate existed, before the neat rows of houses, the trimmed hedges, and the clean pavements, the land around Stowell Spire was sacred ground. Not holy, not blessed, but bound. It was the burial place of those who had died wrongly, violently, or unwillingly, souls whose deaths tore holes in the world. The old church had been built there to hold them down. When it collapsed, they were freed. When the estate was built, they were awakened. And only one woman knew what was truly happening: Minel. I lived in a small house on Sangster Court, facing directly across at Janine's house. When we switched off our lights at the same time every night, I always felt the spire watching us, leaning, tilting, growing sharper in silhouette. Sometimes I would see a shape behind Janine in her window, tall, thin, still. When I asked her the next day, she always shook her head. It must have been the spire's shadow. But shadows don't linger after the lights go off. And they don't smile. On Eccles New Road, Minel's shop looked harmless: snacks, bread, dusty toys, and lottery tickets. People said she came from Alexandria. Others said Cairo. Some whispered she had run from something back home. But the truth was far older. Minel was the last descendant of a forbidden order, the House of Anpu, servants of the ancient god who weighed the dead. Not priests, not worshippers, binders. Her bloodline carried the ability to sense unrest in the dead, to see the cracks between this world and the next, and at the greatest cost, to seal them. Every generation, one was chosen. Minel was the final one. Her accent wasn't just Egyptian, it was old, filled with words from a dialect lost to history. When she whispered certain phrases, the air around her would grow colder, and lights flickered as if afraid. She didn't come to Salford by chance. She came because something called her, something buried under Sangster Court. Though it was just a residential street, Chambers Field had a strange heaviness. Gaps formed in the pavement even when it hadn't rained, and the grass on the verges grew in thick, knotted clumps like hair. Locals said it was bad soil. Minel said it was hungry earth. She carried chalk in her coat pocket. Blue chalk. Old, brittle, marked with symbols that never fully stayed still. Sometimes she would stop walking, kneel down, and draw a curve or a sigil on the pavement. I once saw her do this and asked why. She didn't look up, so they don't remember the way out. Then she erased the chalk with her palm and whispered 3 words in a language that felt like it scraped the inside of my ears. For the rest of that night, I heard knocking underneath my bedroom floor. Slow, angry, like something waking. It was just after midnight when Janine's light flashed rapidly, our emergency signal. I ran outside. Fog flooded Sangster Court, thick and black around the base of Stowell Spire. Not white mist, but black, like soot rising from a fire beneath the ground. Tony was missing. Carrie was shaking. Janine whispered she went toward Chambers Field. That was when Minel appeared. Not walking. Gliding, lantern in hand, her eyes glowing faint gold through the fog. Her voice was nothing like the soft tone she used in her shop. "Stay behind me," she commanded. Her shadow stretched unnaturally long, moving like it had a mind of its own, curling around our feet protectively. The fog parted for her. It obeyed her. When we stepped onto Chambers Field, the air tightened. I felt pressure on my ribs, like invisible hands squeezing. Then the ground bulged. Not cracked, bulged, like someone was pushing upward from beneath the tarmac. A pale forehead pressed against the surface. Then a nose. Then a screaming mouth. Hands erupted next, ripping through the pavement like rotten cloth. Skeletons. Half-bodies. Shadow creatures wearing the shapes they had once possessed, but twisted and thin. The spire glowed through the fog, pulsing like a diseased heart. Its hum vibrated through our bones. The dead were waking. The dead were climbing. The dead were starving. And they recognized Minel. Hundreds of hollow voices whispered up from the rubble, "Binder, binder, binder." Minel stepped forward and removed the cloth from her lantern. Inside was not a light, not a flame, but a floating black orb swirling with gold symbols, turning slowly like a planet. A heart of shadow. A piece of ancient magic stolen from the tombs guarded by her ancestors. With that orb, She could command the boundary between life and death, but using it meant shortening her own life. Every time, she whispered words older than the English spoken around us, Amit Esakaith Renu Mhetep. A shockwave burst outward, blasting fog away. The dead shrieked an inhuman, tearing sound. Their shadows warped, ripped loose, and burned like paper. But one figure remained solid, a tall man in rotted priest robes. Face half bone, half preserved skin, jaw unhinged, eyes glowing red. The priest buried alive when Stowell Church collapsed. The one the spire was built to remember. He reached for Minel. "You cannot bind me again." Minel's voice dropped to a whisper. "I never bound you. I buried you." The earth split beneath the priest. Shadow hands pulled him down. He screamed until the ground swallowed him whole. Silence. Then the pavement stitched itself shut, and all the dead fell back into their graves. Minel turned to us, her lantern dim now, her breath shallow, her eyes no longer gold. "That was a warning," she said. "The spire is waking. My power won't hold forever. What happens when it fails?" I asked. She looked directly at my house, then at Janine's, then toward Ordzil. "When the last binding breaks," she whispered, "the estate will sink into the graves below it." And with that, she walked into the fog, her shadow flickering like dying flame. Even now, some nights, when the fog rolls in from the quays, Janine hears tapping under her bedroom floor. Tony swears she hears voices in the drains. Carrie refuses to walk past Chambersfield, and I see movement behind my curtains reflected from Janine's window. And Minel's lantern? Sometimes I see its faint glow on Eccles New Road, watching, guarding, fighting something none of us can see. Because the dead beneath Sangster Court aren't resting. They're waiting. And Minel's ancient magic is the only thing keeping them in the ground.